Let's start with the nation. Buhari to Nigerians, I won't interfere in next year's elections. Petrol importation to end June 2023. Reverse your decision on strike, FG tells ASUU. Victim of organ harvest to court. Don't release my biodata to Ekweremadu. No rift between Tinubu and Adamu over campaign council, says APC. Igboho appeal court reverses 20 billion naira damages against DSS. And Fidelity Bank gets CBN's nod to acquire Union Bank UK. Okay, let me start with the major headlines. So President Muhammadu Buhari, through his spokesperson, I think it was Femi Adesho, was saying that he respects Nigerians. And because of that, he will ensure a free and fair election. He will ensure that it is who you vote for that gets elected. According to him, he also referenced the recent polls that took place in Osun, Ekiti, and Anambra, saying that you can see what we've done, and that this party is going to ensure a smooth sail to ensure that no hoodlums or anybody take over or hijacks the process. That they're going to ensure a free and fair, and it's who you Nigerians pick become president in 2023. That's pretty much the nutshell of that hot stuff.
And that's a good message, especially in this time with all the...
But I would like to hear from him.
He says that all the time. Through his spokesperson, of course. So the group chief executive officer of the NNPC Limited, Malete, was talking on importation again, and this time around he gave us a timeline. He said by mid-2023, importations would end, and this is how he proposes that it will happen. So there's a 50 million liters of petroleum products that will be coming from the Dangote refinery that they're planning on, because they have 50 million liters daily. That they have, a 50%, they have a 20% stake in that refinery, and they have a right for first refusal, so they will get their products. They will also be giving over 300,000 barrels to that refinery coming next year when it takes off. He says that even though, and they're looking to reform, to repair all our 3 refineries already existing owned by government. He said that, but even if all of them are working at about 90% capacity, they will only be able to produce 18 million liters of PMS daily. And he says that, so with the addition of what Dangote would be doing and, working with them, they would be able to not only take over West African market for that product, they're looking at, going further to other areas of Africa, and how that capacity would also stem the importation, take care of all our fears about the subsidy payments and all other fears. Then he went on to talk about why we even ended up refining outside the country, which is, of course, vandalism and oil theft. He says that, in Nigeria, oil thefts happen daily. People build houses on the pipelines that are supposed to take finished products from the refineries to, their depots. So he mentioned that from Atlas Cove to Ibadan, all the depots are now redundant. It's because of the vandalism happening along the line. So Nigerians build houses there, and now they use our religious institutions as a camouflage. He mentioned a lot of things that impressed me. I expected that he would have an idea, because even where we live in some areas, we see these things happen. What I also would want is that when you go through the Abule Adosoba to Ijegemo in Ikotun, those areas where you have had pipeline explosion, you will see military men. In those wet areas where it's possible, I've gone there several times, you see those military posts, and you wonder how somebody will fully, boldly put a small pipeline pump, petroleum pump on pipelines and be distributing finished products. In fact, they will bring tankers in. Until that fire happened in Ikotun, then nobody thought about it. So I would expect that he has an idea of all of this. Arrest and prosecution should be in our faces, to discourage the theft.
Yeah, so the victim of the alleged organ harvesting involving the former Deputy Senate President, Ekweremadu, and his wife, has approached the High Court in Abuja, and he's asking that they had given the Ekweremadus the right to get his biodata from NIMC, and I think his bank. NIMC is the National Identity Management Commission, and also from NIS, from Stanbic, from UBA. So the victim, through his lawyer, approached the court and says that as far as he's concerned, this is against his fundamental human rights. Why would they give them that the access to his biodata without informing him, you know, and without his involvement? And the Kwara Madus actually need it in, you know, for their defense at the court in the UK. So the court here in Abuja has adjourned their next meeting till sometime in September, and then we'll see if they'll go ahead to give the Kwara Madus this information.
Lawyers can ask for that.
Of course.
I'm wondering why.
Whatever they need to prepare for their defense.
All right, moving on now to the Punch indefinite strike. FG summons varsity councils, vice chancellors as parents grumble. Picture here, army kills terrorists, arrests 3 suspects in Kaduna. Hoodlums invade Lagos communities, rob residents and victims lament. Appeal court nullifies 20 billion naira damages. Igboho heads to Supreme Court. Undergraduate lovers die in Kwara, corpses found naked. 46 billion naira debt. NCAA threatens to withdraw airlines licenses. 6,068 Nigerian doctors moved to UK under Buhari. And oil earnings dropped by 29% to 790 billion naira, says CBN. Okay, which story? Are we starting with major headline, please?
So, in a letter signed by the Deputy Executive Secretary Administration for the National University Commission, the federal government has invited pro-chancellors, vice-chancellors, chairmen of governing councils of the federal universities to a meeting for September 6th in Abuja to look into this indefinite strike issued by ASUU. And the pains of parents were also taken in that report that, you know, parents are suffering and are really grumbling about this extended strike. Today makes it 198 days of the strike. And, you know, because some of their issues are still remain unresolvable, government is now looking at that meeting. I'm hoping that it will not be another meeting, you know, no solution. Yeah.
So the Nigerian Army said that on Tuesday, while on patrol in some communities in Kaduna State, were attacked and then found themselves in a gun duel with terrorists. They said that they were able to overpower them, thankfully. One of the terrorists was killed, 3 of them captured, and many of them that were wounded ran off. And so they're saying to Nigerians, you know, if you find if anyone approaches hospitals or anybody trying to take care of gunshot wounds, they should be alerted. They said from the raid they were able to recover a lot of arms and ammunition and also 80 motorcycles. So well done to our military, and we'll continue to pray for your success.
Landlords and residents and business owners around the Abule Egba area are decrying, saying that hoodlums are lurking around and snatching phones, property amongst residents. That's from 7 p.m. It's no longer safe to travel 7 p.m. within the access. According to him, they're in distress. Moving from Abule Egba to Ahmadiyya to Ile Ekpo is no longer safe at night. Hoodlums snatch their phones and dispose the commuters of all their belongings. And they've done everything to get the police to assist. They need more help, especially around that axis, for police to help, to have more police surveillance to reduce the amount of attacks residents and motorists are experiencing around that area. It's quite, there was a time this was happening around Aja area. Somehow it stopped. Remember. So I think that there's a way they can fix this.
The Aja one was really bad.
It was really bad.
Break through their cars.
But that has stopped, so hopefully they can fix that. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. There was a story you want to take in Punch.
Yes, the Kwara State University undergrads, so 200 level, 2 students in 200 level were preparing for their exams with their classmates in class, and then they decided to go to their hostel, a boy and a girl, to, you know, prepare. I would like not to take their names. Their names are in the paper anyway. So they went to their hostel to continue reading, only for them not to show up for the exam the next day. They didn't show up the day after, so their friends started looking around the school for them, and they found them in their hostel, off-campus hostel, dead and naked and dead in their room. So the university has responded. They've invited the police, and they've promised to do an autopsy to find the cause of death, but nothing else has been released.
Really sad, but that's rest in peace. Moving on to Daily Sun. Governors offer to take over negotiation with ASUU. Again, court refuses Kyari bail application. Southeast, 119 civilians, security personnel killed in 3 months, says report. Fuel imports end June next year, says Kyari. CBN gives Fidelity Bank nod to acquire Union Bank in the UK. Wike turns McAfee, vows to bring down APC structures in Rivers. APC governors NWC meet over presidential campaign list. And 2023, frustrated youth only using Obi as symbol, says McAfee. Okay, which story?
Let me take the detained Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari, filed for bail, and the court has dismissed it again. So the grounds for he asking for bail was that, first of all, he's in the same prison as criminals that he had, because of his investigation and his work, have led to their imprisonment, and now he's in the same prison with them. He says he lives in that place and hides himself like a rat because he's afraid of these people. He also said that during the Kuje prison escape that happened, he said he had an opportunity, he and his other colleagues that were detained with him had an opportunity to have escaped, but he did not. Instead, he just, he stayed back. That's to show some form of character. And he also talked about just the way the prison is run, his welfare, his lifestyle, his health is also affected. But the court says, as far as they're concerned, all the things that he's brought before them, there's nothing, strong enough that can allow them give him bail. So it looks like he's going to be in there until.
So there was an independent report by a company called Next Year SPD Violent Conflict Database. And what they looked into was the numbers of killings in the southeast by unknown gunmen. So aside from this report was saying, I think it's between 2021 and 2022, it says that aside from the from other deaths, 73 people have been killed in 28 kidnapping incidents in southeast. I'd say about 31.5% of all kidnapped victims and 40% of all civilians killed by these unknown gunmen in the first half of 2022. So they're just giving us some independent data. It's good to have data because also it also says that some security personnel, about 36 security personnel also died in the first half of 2022. About 83 civilians were also killed by these unknown gunmen. That's the first half of 2022. So these are data that the government needs to use to know how how important it is for them to combat the violence and killings in the southeast. The data is quite extensive. I can't read all the figures I've been given, but the trend analysis of killing by this unknown government is documented by this company, and they appear to have shifted the focus to more civilians. So before it was security operatives, now they seem to be focusing more on civilians. It's just an interesting data to read.
There's some good news on the CBN giving Fidelity Bank their approval to buy the 100% equity of the Union Bank UK PLC. So I don't understand the difference. I thought they were the same body, but I need clarity because we know the Union Bank.
When they took, yes. So I remember that time they took a story. I read the story that the purchase by Titan was only for Union in Nigeria. Okay. It didn't extend to them in the UK. So there's probably a different relationship.
So this is a welcome, for their expansion to the UK market or whichever. I need clarity on where they work.
International market.
International market.
Okay.
The story is too short for that detail.
Okay, let's move on quickly now to Vanguard. Disquieting PDP over Wike's preferred candidates and remarks. ASUU. Government moves to reopen universities, calls meeting of pro-chancellors and VCs. Court rejects Abba Kyari's fresh application for bail orders and accelerated trial. FG engaging foreign countries to deal with insecurity, says Lai Mohammed. 2023, I won't allow politicians intimidate Nigerians with personal resources, says Buhari. Sanwo-Olu to raise Lagos education budget above 10%. Highly placed Nigerians involved in crude oil theft, says NNPC boss Kyari. And NCAA threatens to suspend 23 domestic airlines over 46 billion debt owed agencies. Okay, which story are we starting with?
So I'll talk about our Minister for Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, at the two-day National Conference on Culture, Peace and National Security and the Role of the Media happening in Kano right now, although he's being represented by the Director, International Cultural Relations in that ministry. And he's just really, his message is just really that as regards insecurity, the federal government is in talks with ECOWAS, friendly countries, other, related countries on the best way forward, and that the federal government, of course, appreciates, the challenges of insecurity and how it affects us, but also calling on the media and saying that, see, the media has a lot you cannot leave the fight against insurgency and insecurity to just the federal government. The media has a big role to play as well. And he's asking them to please shun fake news, be careful in misinforming, people, because all these are the things that worsen the situation. They're just saying that the last meeting that they had, the one that they had last year, the focus was really on traditional rulers, local government chairpersons, that is asking for help from the grassroots. But this year is calling on media to understand the power that they have, especially as it regards, the sort of news that we put out. Also calling to clarify facts before, you say anything about it or you put it out. And all other stakeholders in the media to just put that in mind.
So the appeal court in Ibadan has set aside the judgment awarding Sunday Igboho 20 billion naira cost awarded against the DSS when he sued the DSS for invasion of his home at the time when that investigation was happening. The court says that the award itself is outrageous and that the lower court, that's the high court that gave him that judgment, lacked the jurisdiction to even hear the matter at all. So I hope that, he does an appeal or, he refiles whatever issues he has.
Okay, I was going to take the story because it's related to the event I attended yesterday. So at the Lagos Education Summit, which the theme was a fit-for-purpose education model. So that was really the objective of the event. The governor's statement there was very clear that Lagos State has been increasingly increased the budget of education so far since 2020. We started with about 113 billion naira budget, and then from 2021 was about 146 billion naira budget. But in 2022, the budget for education is 173.5 billion, which is exactly 10% of the 1.75 trillion naira budget for the state. And the governor did say that they plan to increase the budget on education because Lagos State is not playing lip service to the education. It's part of its theme's agenda, and they are going to ensure that they put everything in place to help to reduce the end poverty in Nigeria by investing properly in education. So, and many have boasted that 173 billion is much more than the entire state budgets of quite a number of states within the federal government. So that's a lot of investment in education that the Lagos State government boasts of, and they're planning to increase that more than in the coming budgets. That's pretty much the story.
Well done, Lagos State.
Okay, let's final paper, the Nigerian Tribune. Let's find a story we've not taken. Over 25,000 persons missing in Nigeria due to insurgency in Northeast, says Red Cross. Many trapped as building collapse in Kano market. Unease in Ondo-Ogun border over status of Ararumi seaside community. I will consider government of national unity if elected, says Atiku. And ASUU strike FG to meet with pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors. Okay.
Yeah, so the International Committee of the Red Cross says that more than 25,000 persons are missing in Nigeria as a result of insurgency. They say that this is in addition to the 2,000 missing persons that were registered in 2021 in January. And of this number, 14,000 of them are children. That's 14,000 of these victims are children, and that they make up for about half or 50% of those missing. And then we also have the next highest number are women. The International Committee of, that's ICRC, is saying that one of the problems we also have is that these numbers do not reflect the actual numbers on ground. We do not keep data here in Nigeria. And he says that, you see, the lack of data and the lack of political will to even do all that is needed to put this data together at some of the things lacking. So it's important. I mean, data collection, and it's just important. It tells a story. And some of these things that we're fighting with guns and ammunition, we can fight with just even understanding the numbers, you know.
Sadly,
I have to run. We don't have any more time.